Well, guys, looks like we've got asteroid threats in the news again, and this time it's the lamestream news. And Yahoo News has published this article 18 hours ago. And it's basically going on to say that the United Nations is now taking aim at asteroid threats to Earth. Now, this is due to it being the anniversary of last year's surprise Russian meteor explosion. And so the UN are now putting together an action team, and they're taking steps to thwart dangerous space rocks, including setting up a warning network and a planning advisory group. And they would coordinate a counterpunch to cosmic threats. A global group of experts on near-Earth objects, NEOs, met in Vienna, February 10 to 11, for the 51st session of the United Nations Scientific and Technical Subcommittee of the Committee of the Peaceful Uses of Space. And so basically the UN are now saying that they are taking these asteroid threats seriously, and they're forming a task group. Now, I find it interesting that this timing of the UN now identifying this asteroid threat is happening now, when it's a year past the time they have seen that a potentially hazardous asteroid was in fact hazardous, and it caused significant damage to structures and the injuries of over 100 people. And so I find it interesting that they've taken 12 months to decide that they are going to take this seriously. And I also find it interesting that the UN aren't talking to NASA about this asteroid threat that they're so concerned about. Because if they were speaking to NASA, they would know that NASA actually shut down their space fence orbital surveillance network last year, as reported on this space.com article from NASA on the 13th of August 2013. And so due to the fact that astronomers and military and scientists share these satellites, when the military shut them down, they lost access to having the ability to identify these incoming dangerous asteroids. And so I find that interesting, that this is completely, off the attention of the UN. Not to mention that they say that the most important mechanism of protecting people against asteroid threats is actually an early warning system, so people can leave areas. It seems that, again, NASA has decided to put a 72-hour suppression order on all dangerous NEOs. And I reported on this back in May 2011, 30th of May 2011 to be exact. And this did not go down well with a lot of the astronomers and scientists. So, very interesting that now we see the United Nations publicly stating that they want to take aim at this asteroid threat. I would also find it very interesting if the United Nations didn't have access to this information of the discovery of near-Earth asteroids from 1980 to 2011. something else that perhaps the UN may want to inform themselves about, because if you watch this animation of these asteroid discoveries, and not all of them are dangerous, it just shows the amount of objects that are actually out there and how this amount has increased over the time. And so as you get to the end of the 1990s, you can see a dramatic increase. And so you would think that the UN would have access to this as well, but obviously not. So anyway, I will continue to watch all of this very interesting information being relayed by the lamestream news in regards to these asteroid threats. My thoughts are perhaps the reason they are now bringing this to public attention is that we may start to see more of these asteroids, and perhaps they would like to give the general public the mindset, the mentality that they have everything under control and that there is a task force that will protect them. So anyway, I will post all of the articles underneath, and as always, peace out.